Okay, we're on page 3. Now for number 5, what we're going to do is we're going to write these inequalities using numbers. So we're going to write it in a form that looks something like this. So let's say x is less than or equal to 7 or equal to whatever it is. Okay. So basically need to translate this sentence into that. So all numbers k, okay, so we write k, less than negative 14. Well, the other numbers, the number is negative 14, less than, k is less, so that the arrow would point to k because it's less, and it would open to negative 14 because it's greater. Okay. Now this one is, first of all, there's no letter. It doesn't tell you letter, so you can pick whatever letter you want. I'm sure most of us use x all the time, so it doesn't matter. And then the number is negative 7. And now we got to see which way is this arrow pointing to. Well, it's pointing in the more positive direction. So that means that x is going to be greater than. Okay, be greater than. And then we look at the circle where the dot is at the number, and if it's open, it will be greater than. If it's closed, if it's a solid dot like this, then it'll be greater than or equal to. Okay, in this case it's open, so it's just greater than. Okay, so let's just say, for example, I colored this dot all the way closed, then we would put an equal to sign there. But because it's open, we don't need that. Okay? So now this one, on number 6, we're going to write using words. So in other words, we're going to translate this into a sentence. Okay? So we're going to translate, this is H. Sorry. H is, and actually I think this graph is mistakenly put here. This shouldn't be here. This actually should be over here on the right. Okay, so sorry if that's confusing you. So this is H is, okay, now remember that the little symbol's opening to the H, so that means it is greater than. And then we have the little line on the bottom, so it's or equal to 4. That's it. Okay, now this one, this graph is supposed to be over here, so let's just make a quick graph. Put 0 in the middle. And we'll put a couple marks on each side. Okay, so we start at negative 1. And remember, if it doesn't have the line, it's going to be an open circle. Negative 1 is to the left. It's an open circle. And x is greater. X is actually bigger, because if you notice, it's opening to the x, so that means that we're going to shade in the positive direction. Okay, what you should do before you even graph it is take this and flip it around. Put x on the left, negative 1 on the right, and if I flip it around, I also have to flip the sign. And you'll notice that x is greater than or greater than negative 1, and that's why I went in this direction to the right. And if you also notice another trick to remember, if your symbol points in this direction, well, if you notice, it's almost like an arrow, and it's pointing to shade that way. If you have less than, it's almost like an arrow that's pointing to the left, and we would shade that way. Okay, so that's another trick to help you remember. Okay, so now we're going to solve these inequalities. The next one, number 8. So on this first one, we need to simplify this left side by distributing or multiplying the 3. Okay, let's that up, multiply. So 3 times x, okay, and again 3 times 5, okay, but it's positive 3 times negative 5, so negative 15. Okay, and then that's all greater than negative 12. And now again we want x by itself, so we add 15 to get rid of it to both sides. We just have 3x here, and now negative 12 plus 15 is positive 3, and then we want to divide the 3 to get rid of the 3 next to x, so we cancel, and we get x is greater than 1. So now on the graph, if I put 0 here, 1 here, 1, and then a couple marks around it, 1 is right here, and remember it doesn't have the line, so it's an open circle. And and it's pointing to the right, so it's x is greater than going this way. Okay. Now this one's a little different than before. Whatever's on the bottom, you're going to multiply on both sides. So let's say this was a 3, which is what you're used to seeing. I'd multiply 3 both sides. Okay, but it's not 3. It's actually a variable. It's x. So we do the same thing. Instead of multiplying a number, we multiply x both sides. Okay, and remember, these will cancel. Those cancel out. So you don't multiply the x times this and the x times that. Now all I have is just 2x minus 7 is less than or equal to 1 times x is 1x. Now, what I want to do is get the x terms on one side and the numbers on the other. Okay, so what I'm going to do is first, on this left side, add the 7 and add it over here. So now I just have 2x here. And remember, this term has x, this does not, so this is 1x. All I can do is rewrite them together. And then I want the x's over here, so I don't want this x here, so I subtract it. Okay, so now I have 2 minus 1, x, which is just x. It is 1x, but it's also the same as just saying x, is less than or equal to 7. Okay, because that's all I have left on the right. So now I put a 0 in the middle, and then 1, 2, it's positive 7, so I go to the right. 4, 5, 6, 7. And remember, it's equal to, so I put a closed solid dot, and it's pointing to the left, so I'm going to shade that way to the left. X is less than 7. Okay. Now on this one, again, I want the x over on this side, so what I'm going to do is add it. Add it to this side because it's negative. And again, I cannot do 15 plus 4x because this does not have x and this does. So I'm just going to write it together with x first. Okay. And we just still have negative 1 over here. And now I want to subtract the 15 from both sides because I don't want the number on that side. Okay, and then what I'm going to do here is add negative 1 and negative 15. So negative 1 minus 15 is negative 16. Okay, and then the last step is divide this 4. Get rid of the 4 because we don't want a number next to x. So now x is greater than negative 16 divided by 4 is negative 4. Now some of you guys are thinking like, well, isn't when we divide and there's a negative, don't we flip the sign? Only if the number below is negative do we flip the sign. So if this was negative 4, then I would flip it. But because if this number is negative, it doesn't matter. Okay, it only matters what do I divide. Okay, so we'll put 0 in the middle. And we have negative 4, so we have to go to the left. 2, 3, 4, and this does not have equal to, so it's just an open circle, and its x is greater, or it's pointing to the right, so we shade to the right, because greater than is to the right, in a more positive direction. Okay, that's it for page 3. Okay, go to the next video for page 4.